What's going on, guys? FlyBy Simulations here, and welcome back to one of the most anticipated aircraft releases for Microsoft Flight Simulator in as far as I can remember. The hotly anticipated A350 by iniBuilds is going to be releasing for both Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 in Q1 of 2025, so between January and March of 2025. I'm going to say that again, it's coming out for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and MSFS 2024 in Q1 of 2025. Now, the trailer that you guys are seeing in the background was released just a couple hours ago, and since I've been watching it, I do have to say that the editor of this trailer definitely needs a raise. There's excellent shot selection throughout, the music choice is amazing, and there's quite a bit of intercutting going on, which really does make this a wonderful watch. So if iniBuilds is watching this, please give your editor a raise. There's obviously tons of new features, upgrades, and additional tidbits that we'll be covering in today's video, dissecting this trailer and understanding everything that we're going to be getting with this launch. And alongside this trailer, iniBuilds has also released a detailed development update that we'll also be talking about in this video. So all of that and much more coming up. If you guys haven't already, do give this video a like, subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with everything in the world of Microsoft Flight Simulator, and after this quick sponsored segment, everything A350. Now, long-term viewers of the channel might know that I'm not much of a bush pilot or GA aircraft flyer. I love flying large airliners, which usually involves long periods of time where I put the plane on cruise and just kind of sit there. So instead of rotting in front of my monitor for hours on end, I prefer to go out and do things, whether it may be a run, doing my laundry, enjoying a meal outside, but there's always that lingering feeling about how my flight is doing, whether it's all peaceful or if I'm in an uncontrolled nosedive about to kill all of my passengers. Well, with today's sponsor, Awesome Remote, you don't have to worry anymore. Awesome is a free-to-download application software from macOS, Windows, and Android that allows you to remotely control your PC using your phone. As can be seen here, I can monitor my flight, control the cameras, and even move things around as needed without having to be anywhere near my monitor. As a content creator, I get great peace of mind when I can monitor the status of my video being rendered on my editing software, and having the ability to upload videos to YouTube without physically being at my desk or computer is an absolute godsend. The app does allow keyboard customization as well as mouse support, and can also support games up to 144 FPS. Once again, that's Awesome Remote, and you can find out more by clicking on the link in the description section of the video. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, so let's start with a brief analysis of the trailer itself and some of the shots I found particularly interesting that speak to the best features that we can come to expect with the aircraft. Starting off, of course, it is a flight simulation product, so the depth of simulation is something that we need to speak about. Now, for those of you wondering, is this going to be a surface level product or is it going to be extremely detailed like the PMDG and Phoenix cams? Well, from everything I can see, I can pretty confidently say that it's going to be a pretty detailed product. Everything from the back-end systems like fuel, hydraulics, pneumatics, electrics, etc. has all been simulated to an extremely high level of accuracy. Now, all of that back-end stuff is also reflected on the front end, with every display, switch, and so on in the cockpit appearing to be fully modeled and simulated. Now, that last part hasn't been necessarily confirmed by iniBuilds, and of course there might be certain niche buttons in the extremities of the cockpit that might not be fully simulated. We'll just have to see by the time we get the actual aircraft in our hands. Now, speaking of depth, iniBuilds has actually gone above and beyond with some of their own proprietary features in this simulation as well, which includes their custom terrain radar, which is different from Microsoft Flight Simulator's default radar, which offers higher levels of accuracy, as well as better coordination with some of the A350's other systems. There's also A-beam and offset simulations while you're en route to your destination. There's full CPDLC and Hoppy integration for your ACARS messages and long oceanic crossings that we'll all likely be doing aboard this aircraft, and much more. Of course, we'll go into a little bit more technical jargon in just a bit, but it's really good to see that all of the crutches that we've come to expect from a high fidelity flight simulation add-on are all going to be included within the A350. The A350 does feature outstanding physical modeling and rendering of the aircraft both inside and out. Outside, we see the full use of PBR materials, which basically means that materials look like the actual materials they're supposed to represent in real life, like plastic looks like plastic, aluminum looks like aluminum, and there's also a real shine and new looking feel to each part of the aircraft, which has been modeled exceptionally. The true beauty is, however, on the inside. The cockpit, of course, looks absolutely stunning with every display simulated and proper texturing of knobs, buttons, and so on. There's also a decent amount of weathering going on here to reflect the wear and tear, but not too much to the point where the aircraft starts looking ancient. I really hate when certain developers get this wrong in terms of sometimes making the aircraft look like it's 60 years old when it's only been in service for 10 years, and sometimes making the aircraft look like it's just out of the factory floor. I think the iniBuilds A350 has nailed this balance between what is supposed to be a weathered looking aircraft, but at the same time still relatively new. Now, as much as I don't usually care about this, my favorite part of their interior modeling has to be their cabin simulation. Boy, oh boy, I think they've managed to accomplish something really special here. From realistic looking seat textures, cabin class configurations based on the airline and variant you're operating, to those stunning night textures with the stars on the ceiling. This is literally some wizardry we haven't seen in the past here. iniBuilds have also gone right ahead and created realistic cabin announcements to go alongside all of this, along with a detailed flight attendant panel where from the looks of things you can control everything from the temperature in various zones of the cabin, lighting configurations, you can arm various doors and slides and smoke detectors, and even monitor the water and waste tanks so that you can service them when they're full on the ground. So let me be abundantly clear here, this is true persistence simulations we've been looking for in flight simulations forever. How your flight performs one day will have a direct effect on how it'll perform 10 flights later or even 100 flights later, and that's something I really truly can't wait for. It really helps extend the longevity of that simulation product. So the A350 is going to be absolutely amazing in that respect, and it's not just the cabin that I'm excited for here, it's the overall airliner simulation that we're getting with the iniBuilds product. Now, speaking of these comprehensive maintenance options, there is of course a comprehensive aircraft maintenance page similar to other iniBuilds aircraft that allows you to replace your brakes and tires, readjust hydraulic or oil quantities, view the insides of your engines or APU, and even service these components if you do suspect damage. Now, I'm sure they'll have some sort of integration with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024's new walk-around feature here, allowing you to detect problems visually when you're performing the walk-around before the flight, and if you fail to identify it and if the issue is not uncovered, it will create a fault mid-flight. Speaking of faults, the team has also modeled a wide variety of problems and failures that you can simulate via their all-new iniBuilds Situation Manager. Now, from a limited sneak peek, we can see that it offers a wide selection of failures you can practice if you'd like, from smoke in the cabin to rapid depressurization, single engine failures, and other mechanical faults. However, personally, what I find most interesting here from a CRM or crew resource management perspective is that you can even enable faults like having unruly passengers who have had one too many drinks and are misbehaving in the back, or simulating an actual medical emergency necessitating a diversion or emergency landing. Now, of course, all of this can be turned off entirely if you don't wish to encounter any of these faults, but they're there and can be enabled both randomly as well as on purpose, which just makes me so excited for the potential of this add-on. And as I mentioned before, its relative longevity in the sim. I mean, I've been flying the PMDG series of products for a while. I've now been flying the Phoenix series of products for a while, and they're absolutely fantastic. But I think what sets some of these aircraft apart is the failure practice that you can do on them. Basically, instead of just doing point-to-point operations from one place to another, you can simulate a little bit of realism, a little bit of challenge to your flight experience as well, which is only going to help increase the immersion and realism that you can get with that aircraft. Now, moving further into the trailer, we also see external application support like Simbrief, flight plan imports, as well as built-in Navigraph charts implementation on the onboard displays, which, as you can see, has its own UI matching the A350's text style and so on to create a seamless experience, which is awesome to see. They're not just using the Navigraph base UI and just plugging it into the A350, they're kind of matching everything so that it appears seamless. Speaking of things that are awesome to see, we also have the brake to vacate feature that allows you to vacate your landing runway at the most appropriate taxi point so you can minimize taxi time and save the wear and tear on your actual brakes. Now, if you're familiar with the fly-by-wire A380 in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, which was just released about a month or so ago, you might be familiar with this system, as to my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's only present on the A350 and the A380. So it's nice to see that iniBuilds have gone that extra mile to be able to model this system and make it as realistic as possible. On a side note, I also absolutely love the shot showcasing the wing flex, and this one particularly that showcases the flight control surface vibrations, especially when the aircraft is taking off. The inner cinematic flight simmer in me really got excited seeing all of this. And of course, we also do have some amazing sounds we can expect with iniBuilds. Their sound quality is usually of pretty high quality, especially on their payware airliners, not so much on the freeware stuff, especially with the stuff that iniBuilds has built in collaboration with Asobo or Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. I don't really like the sound quality there, but that iconic A350 flap extension sound is also present, allowing you to hear the hydraulics moving in action. Awesome stuff. Love to see a good soundscape within the aircraft. And of course, I keep stressing this every time I mention something visually great about the aircraft, as I can already hear the ultra hardcore simming group banding together and saying visuals don't matter, we want to see best in class system simulation. It does exist with this aircraft, from offering both NiCad and lithium battery options, each with their own individual properties, to a fully detailed airport navigation system for easy taxiing on the ground, which I suspect they're doing in collaboration with Navigraph, again similar to how Fly-by-Wire did it with their A380, as well as offering configuration of specific N1 values for the engines for noise abatement procedures. System simulation is not getting left behind here, so please don't crucify me in the comments for being excited about the way the aircraft looks and sounds. After all, we are allowed to have the best of both worlds. We are moving into 2025 and it's the age of flight simulation and gaming converging. During the course of the next few weeks, iniBuilds will be commencing their usual iniBuilds aircraft showcase series when releasing a new aircraft, walking us through some of these features that we've spoken about in way more detail. And of course, we'll be producing more videos on the channel to explain all of these in as much detail as possible. I might even interview somebody from iniBuilds. I do have a couple contacts there that I would love to get on the channel. In their forum post today, they also went on to address some key questions pertaining to the aircraft's release so far, so let's touch on them super quick before ending off the video. Based on overwhelming customer feedback, the team have re-evaluated their decision and will be releasing the iniBuilds A350 airliner for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and 2024 in one singular purchase. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, initially the aircraft was only going to be released for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 owing to the new additions of the sim. However, they've seen enough people want to have the A350 experience available in the previous sim, which seems to be more fleshed out, so they are going to be releasing it for MSFS 2020 as well, all in one single purchase. The team will invest in 2 development cycles given people want more choice, and note that the issues that some people have with FS 2024 at the moment does warrant the need for a new aircraft in MSFS 2020 as well. The team says that they'll do their very best to have parity in feature sets between both versions of the aircraft, but please do note that this will not be possible all the way, and more details will be shared closer to release. It's really important to understand this. As much as Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 may be the more stable sim and MSFS 2024 on the surface might not seem like the biggest upgrade, MSFS 2024 on the back end does support a ton of features that MSFS 2020 just simply does not. So there might not be 100% parity between both sims, but rest assured that if you pick up the aircraft for one sim, you'll be able to use it in the other sim as well. Number 2 is that yes, they know that they promised a 2024 release date originally, but as mentioned previously, their primary focus is that they want a fantastic product on launch. So having considered all of this, they've decided to delay the launch of the iniBuilds A350 airliner for both sims to Q1 of 2025, which in my opinion isn't the biggest delay. That just means that it's going to be coming out by March 2025 latest. This, as mentioned, will be one purchase, and whilst the trailer only showcased the A350-900 variant, the 1000 variant will also be coming day one. The ULR variant, which is the ultra long range variant, will be a free update later in the year. So if you do have any more questions, be sure to join their Discord server, which will be linked down in the description section of this video as well, and you can feel free to ask their team. Just make sure you don't ask the same questions that I've already addressed in this video, because that's just repetitive and annoying for a development team to answer. So to wrap things up, the iniBuilds A350 is personally shaping up to be a masterpiece. From its stunning visuals to its intricate systems, this aircraft does promise to be a new standard for airliner add-ons, and I really do mean that. I mean, they're including GPS jamming from the FS Lab systems, they're including brake to vacate from something that they saw with Fly-by-Wire, they have awesome engine cowling openings and APU servicing and persistent systems maybe from Just Flight, so they're basically drawing inspiration from all of the things that are working well in the flight simulation community and putting it together in this one add-on, which is really nice to see. So whether you're a seasoned simmer or you're new to the hobby, because I know a lot of people are joining the hobby as a result of this sim now being available on gaming platforms, there's really something here for everyone. So do let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Are you as hyped for the A350 as I am, or is it just this trailer that's acting up on me? Seriously, this editor does need a raise. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to stay up to date with everything happening happening in the world of Microsoft Flight Simulator. As usual guys, thanks for watching and thanks for flying by.